What's up everybody, welcome back. In today's video we are going to finish our joining, and especially for team deathmatch. So we're going to make sure if we join a team deathmatch game that we aren't going to end up in a team that's already full or a team that doesn't exist in this game, for example. So that's what we're going to take a look at, and then we're also going to take a look at some errors that we might need to fix. There's a few that got left in from a little while back, so we're going to take a look at that. And depending on how fast everything is going, we might also start taking a look at a little bit of optimization. So that's today's video. If you like this series, please consider leaving a like. And if you want to get your hands on the project files, you can become a member of the YouTube channel or become a Patreon. And then you will get access to premium channels in the Discord, which will also give you access to the download of this project file. So with all of that stuff out of the way, let's just start today's video. So let's start with joining our team deathmatch game. So we're going to go to our framework folder and open the shooter GameMode. And in here we need to create a new function to handle joining our team deathmatch. So we're going to create a new function and call this assign team. And we're going to give this function one input, and that's our player controller. So that's our shooter player controller over here, and we also want to give it one output, and that's going to be a team found, and that's a boolean. There we go. So first of all, we're going to grab all of the players that are currently in the game, and we're going to count how many players are in each team. So we need a local variable to do that, so let's create one, and that's going to be the local team sizes. So that's an array of integers. So turn it into an integer array. And then first of all, we're going to grab a for loop. So let's drag off here and look for a for loop. And we want to start at index 0. And our last index is going to be our GameMode PvP number of teams. So that's over here. And we're going to subtract 1 of this. So -1. And that's going to be the last index. And then we simply want to create an entry in our array. So we're going to grab our local team sizes array, and we're going to set an array element. Plug this into the loop body. So the index comes from the for loop, so we can simply hook it up. We're going to leave the item to 0, and we're going to enable size to fit. So we have one entry for each team that's in our game. Then we're going to grab our connected player controllers, and we're going to grab a for each loop, plug it in over here, and connect it to the completed pin. So we're simply going to count how many players are inside each team. So first of all, we're going to drag off the array element, and we're going to compare it. So we're going to do not equal, and we want to plug in the player controller from the input. So we're not going to count ourselves in here. Grab a branch, plug it into the loop body, plug it into the condition. So if this is true, we want to count this player. So then we're going to drag off the array element again, and we're going to get the team ID from the controller. And then we can simply add 1 to the integer in this array. So we can grab our local team sizes array, and we're going to get a copy. The team ID is going to be the index, and then we can increment this. So we're going to add 1, plug it in. So this is going to be connected to the true pin. And then after we did this, we want to make sure that we set the array element again. So we're going to grab the local team sizes. We're going to set an array element. Plug it in over here. So the index again comes from the team ID. And then the item is the result of the increment integer. So when this loop is done, we know how many players are in each team currently. So then we're going to grab a branch over here and hook it up to the completed pin. So we want to grab our local team sizes array, and we're going to get a minimum of int array. So you can look for min of int. So this will simply return the lowest value inside this array, and it will also give the index where this lowest value is. So first of all, we want to make sure that there's actually room in this theme. So we're going to grab the minimum value, and we want to know if this is less than our maximum theme size. So we're going to do less than, and then plug in our GameMode PvP maximum theme size. So if this is true, then the player can join this theme. So we want to make a function inside of our player controller where we are going to override the team ID. So we're going to do that in a little bit. And if this is false, then there's actually no room for this player to play. So then we can disconnect him. So we're going to grab from the player controller, and we're going to simply call end client session. So we want to hook this up to the false pin. And then we want to grab our return node, and we're going to promote our team found boolean to a local variable. So that's going to be local team found. And over here, we want to set it to false. And then go to the return node. So that's good to go. Then for the true branch over here, we're also going to grab our team found boolean and set it to true and plug it in. And now all we need to do is go to our player controller to make sure we have an event that overrides our team ID. So we're going to close this down and open our shooter player controller. And in here, let's look for an empty spot. So we're going to create a new custom event and call this override team ID. And this needs one input, and that's an integer. So that's the new team ID. And turn it into an integer. And we're simply going to set the values over here. So we can set the team ID on the controller. Plug it in. And then we also want to set the team ID on the player state. So we're going to look inside of our variables. We have the shooter player state in here. From here, we can drag off and set the team ID and hook it up as well. Plug this one in. And then the last thing we need to do is actually set it in our player profile. So we're going to grab the player profile from the variables over here. And we're going to set members in player profile. Plug it in. And then with the node selected on the right side, you can choose which variables you want enabled. So we're going to enable the team ID and then simply plug it in over here. So we're not actually going to save this. So the next time we join a team or a new lobby, we're simply going to load everything from the profile again, and it won't be changed. So simply only for this match, we're going to override it. So we have our event in place, and then we can go back to our shooter game mode. And for the true branch, we want to drag off the controller, and we're going to override the team ID. Plug it in. And for the team ID, we can get the index of the minimum value and simply plug it in over here. And that should work as long as we also hook it up to our boolean, and then we should be good to go. So we can compile and then go back to the event graph. So over here we are inside of the event handle starting new player. And this is the last branch that we created in the previous video. So the game started true, and then all the way at the end over here we have our team deathmatch branch. And we respawn the player using our respawn after dying function. So right before this one we want to call our assign team. Plug it in and make sure that we also plug in our new joining player controller. And then after this, we can grab ourselves a branch, hook up the team found bool, and if this is true, then we want to continue. So if this is false, the player will be disconnected, and on logout will be called, and event on logout will also decrement our number of expected players. That's over here. So number expected players will be decremented if the controller logs out. So we don't need to decrement it manually. So this should make it work, and right now if we join a team deathmatch game, we are going to join in the team with the lowest amount of players. So that should be good to go. So next up we have a few small things we need to fix. So for example, if we play in standalone and we finish a match, then our scoreboard will stay on screen if we go back to the lobby. So we need to fix that inside of our shooter player controller, the shooter game mode, and we have that one open. So let's tackle that one first. And if we go to our game mode PvP game over event, then all the way at the end we have a for each loop where we toggle the scoreboard, and the easiest thing we can do is simply toggle it again if we are done. So we're going to disconnect after the delay over here, and then we can simply copy the for each loop with the toggle scoreboard and paste it again over here. And this time we're going to set the visibility to false, and that will make sure that our scoreboard is gone. And then for the completed pin, make sure we hook up our server travel node again, so that will open up the lobby. So that should take care of our scoreboard in the lobby, so we can compile and save. And then I want to take a look at an error for the damage indicators. So if you got killed, there's a chance that you get errors for the calculate damage direction. The owning pawn is not valid, if I recall correctly. So the error has been in here for quite a while, and I don't really know why I haven't got around to fix it yet. It just didn't bother me too much, I think, but we're gonna fix it. It's actually really easy. So we're gonna go to our widgets folder and open our in-game HUD. And then we have our calculate damage direction function over here. So you wanna open that one up. And then the first thing we're gonna do is add an isValid node. So we're simply going to check if the control pawn is valid or not. So drag off here and do isValid. And then we're only going to continue if this is actually valid. So that will take care of the damage indicator error. And then there is one more thing left to fix that we're going to take a look at right now. And that's if you get killed while you are shooting an automatic rifle, then you will stay shooting. So we're going to make sure that if you die, you stop shooting. So to do that, we can go to our character folder, and first of all, we're going to open our hero base character. And inside of the event graph, we're going to go to our fire weapon event. So that's server fire weapon over here. And inside of the event, we actually have a branch that checks if we are using an auto rifle and if we still have the fire button pressed. So we can simply add a condition over here and plug in our isAlive boolean. So look for the isAlive bool. And that should be in here somewhere over here. And we can simply plug it in over here. So if we get killed, that will make sure we stop shooting. There's also one other thing we need to take a look at, and that's if the game ends. So you can also, if you win the game, for example, and the game ends, you might stay shooting your weapon. So we're going to fix that as well. We're going to go to the framework folder and then go to the shooter player controller. And if the match is over, we actually call our controller disable input event. So we're going to look for that one. And that should be in here somewhere. So over here, controller disable input. And then we can simply make sure that the server calls our stop fire event. So we're going to drag off the controlled pawn and we're going to cast it to our hero base. And then from the hero base character, we can simply call our stop fire weapon function. So we are the server over here. We are the owning client. And this replicates to the server if we are the owning client. So that's why this should work. And if we go in here, all we do is set the bool back to false, and that will make sure that we stop firing. So that should take care of those issues. So those are the most important things that we need to take a look at. I'm also aware that there are some issues with the spectating mode. So for collision, sometimes the spectator falls through the map and the spectating is not really the smoothest. So I'm looking into that and I'm going to come up with a fix for that later. So I'm aware and I'm working on it, but for now I do not have a ready-made solution. So for today we are going to wrap it up. I'm going to do a small test to make sure everything is still working, and that's going to be today's video. It's a bit shorter, but I'm a bit short on time lately, so I have a bit of a hard time to stay on track. I should be back on track from this week, so the next few videos should be normal length, and in those videos we're going to start optimizing the hero character. So we're going to take a look at multicast events, rep notifies, using soft object references and things like that to make sure everything is a bit more optimized. So for now, let's just have a little look and see if everything is working like it should. So I'm going to launch a 3-player game and get back to you guys when the lobby is up. So here we go. I have a 2-player team deathmatch game going, and one player is in each team. So we have one player in team 1 and one in team 2. I'm going to join it with the 3rd player, and by default it's going to enter in team 1. But because we just created the assign team function, this will make sure that this 3rd player actually joins in an empty team, at least if we did everything correctly. So we're going to search for a game and then join the session. And right now we should be inside of team 3. So let's just double check. There we go, we have another color character and we are actually in the 3rd team. So our assigning team seems to be working. So the other stuff that we fixed mostly occurred in standalone games. So those are a little bit harder to test, but they should work. So just take my word for it. So that's today's episode. Again, sorry it's a bit short, but it'll have to do. Hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. If you did, please consider leaving a like, and I'll be back soon for more. Talk to you later, guys. Bye bye.